We should just like get tattooed wedding rings.
No.
Ethan doesn't like tattoos.
I know. So first and foremost, I want to start with the big move that's possibly coming up, not coming up. So are you guys still planning on that move to Tallahassee?
What should we say?
Well, as people have seen the first couple episodes that have aired, we, in season 2 talked about moving, kind of seemed like a good idea. And then beginning of season 3 was like, okay, moving forward, how does this work? Let's move. And then we kind of hit like a stalling point where Ethan wasn't sure if he wanted to move or not. So we just put the move on hold for a little bit. And I don't know how much to say. I guess
I mean, I don't really know how much to say. I don't want to give anything away, but it really what it came down to is like, I guess I intended to move, because I knew she wanted to move. It was something that we were discussing, but we just really couldn't really agree to anything because we both seem to be wanting such different things in the move. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Okay.
Yeah. We do come to a conclusion, end of season. Do I look excited? But honestly, I think like it needed to happen on both of our timing and not just my timing. And it was like super frustrating at first for me to be like, oh my gosh, I feel like moving is the best, healthiest thing for us, but Ethan wasn't there. So during the season, he takes his time, comes to his own decision, and he actually challenges my, previous decision of let's move. And we find something that we're both excited about. So.
Okay. TBD.
It turned out to be pretty good.
What'd you say?
I said the process sucked, but it turned out to be pretty good.
Moving sucks, whether or not you do it, just the contemplating. I just moved myself, so I understand. And I moved for my husband's job, so it's not easy. Where, you also go back and forth on the idea of couples therapy and therapy. Ethan, have you come around to couples therapy yet? And are you guys still doing it?
Well, couples therapy was something that I wanted to do all along. I based on where we were in our relationship, that was something that I felt would really benefit us. Mm-hmm. Olivia really kind of wanted me to do personal therapy, which I tried. And I don't really think I had the right person. And with so many things up in the air, well, you got to sell your house and we're moving and this and that. And it's like, well, why am I spending this money and my time to start a therapy, get involved with somebody that then I'm not even going to be, may possibly not even be able to see them, after a move or whatnot. It's just like so many open and loose ends. I don't know. I kind of wanted to focus on us and get some focus on our relationship. And that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. And are you guys in couples therapy now or?
Yeah, I feel like that was kind of a compromise for me because I felt like so many of the things that we dealt with were both of us speaking out of childhood trauma. Mm-hmm. And I thought that if we both went privately, like personally to therapy, we could deal with all of our own stuff on our own and have more tools to coming back and communicating together. But obviously like that was my ideal and that was something Ethan wasn't comfortable with. And so my compromise was like, okay, we'll go to couples therapy. If you're comfortable with that, that can't hurt. Mm-hmm. It's just changing up what I thought should happen, but it doesn't have to happen according to like what I want all the time.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the big thing for me was, when a couple's fighting or when a couple is missing each other for a certain period of time, like missing each other in communication, we're just not getting each other. It seems to be that eventually she stops hearing me regardless of what I say, and I stop hearing her regardless of what she says, and it takes that third person to like make everyone feel like they're not going crazy. You can work this out. And that's been very, very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the best decisions we've made.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's good. We see you guys start the season with an extremely tense moment. I mean, I watched it a few times because
I haven't even seen it actually. So
okay.
It's good. I don't know what you're talking about.
It makes you go it gets you a little uncomfortable, but it's interesting. I think that it's great that you are putting your relationship out there and being honest with your fans and your viewers. How are you guys doing now? Because obviously there are some tense moments throughout this season that we're going to see.
Well, yeah, you definitely will see some sides of us.
There's a couple more to come.
We wish just, weren't there. But I mean, this is a reality TV show. So I like to be as honest as I can. And I frankly have a really hard time being anything different than I am. So what you see is what you get. But I would say we're doing much better than that scene and some other scenes that you'll see coming up in the season for a number of reasons. Definitely couples counseling, but just where we're at in life working through things.
I feel like not only has our relationship been through so much through the dating phase and then also like in early marriage and everything, we almost we had so many things going on, so many loose ends, so many burning candles that we just didn't know how to take care of everything. And our relationship almost had to hit rock bottom for us to kind of wake up and prioritize and actually deal with our own problems. And it really sucked hitting rock bottom when we started the season. Pretty much everything was not going well at all and kind of came to a head within the first few weeks. But it also means that as uncomfortable as the first few episodes and scenes are going to be, it gets a lot better. It gets worse before it gets better because you see us both start to deal with things, own up, take accountability, start going to therapy and working on things. So yeah, we're in a much better place now.
The only good thing rock bottom is it's only up from there.
Yeah.
That's so true. So true. Would you say that your biggest rift with each other is because of the family rift? Do you think it's the move? What do you think is your number one source of tension between the two of you that you kind of worked through now?
I would say definitely the stuff we had to sort through with my family really put a strain on our marriage. But then also the move as well for me personally was a big strain just because I felt like I was just if I just said yes, even if it was something that I didn't really particularly want, then I was just, going along to keep you happy. But in the end, I wouldn't really be happy with me. You wouldn't be happy.
Yeah, so which I didn't want.
There was something that we kind of had to work out, because there has to be some amount of compromise. And I feel like we've kind of come to that place.
Yeah. I would say I don't know that there's necessarily a lot of things that have come between us that we've argued over how to handle, as much as there's been a lot of pressure on us and so much that we are both speaking out of a place of pain or wounds or things like that. And not communicating well, not loving each other well, because we're not in tune with ourselves. And I think that's been more of a strain than anything we've necessarily disagreed on how to handle. Moving is the only thing that we just completely disagreed on, but the family strain and all that drama just kind of put pressure on us.
Yeah.
In the early stages of when we were just getting to know each other.
Yeah. I know the word divorce was thrown around or is going to be thrown around a little bit this season. Is that out of the question for you guys, or is it still something that you still talk through and still it comes up sometimes?
Well, divorce is out of the question for me, but it takes two people to really be there.
Well, I would say it's out of the question for me. It's one of those things I struggle with because, okay, that sounded wrong. It's not something I struggle with daily, but in other words, the world I grew up in, I saw marriages that were even unhealthy, including my parents, but you were never allowed to get divorced ever. And so as an adult, it's one of those things that I have rethought and been if a relationship is unhealthy and both people are miserable, do you work on it? Or is there a point when you say, hey, does this not work for us? And that was something I was talking to my therapist about for a while. I was I don't want to ever say it's out of the question completely because I don't want to be that rigid if it was a better thing. But I can say that I think Ethan's worth it. And for me, it's less the question of is divorce on the table or not, as much as do I want to 100% build a life with him and commit to him and put in the hard work? And the answer is yes to that.
Yeah. Well, good. I love you guys together. You have to work it out always. One, not funny, but fans went nuts recently when you didn't have your ring on in a Instagram photo, and you kind of clapped back and were calm down. We're still together. Ethan, do you keep tabs on her rings now?
Well, I can't. You got to pick and choose your battles. I'll let her do whatever she wants. I know the ring that I first got her was like a very, very expensive ring. And she was really nervous about dinging it up or stones falling out of it. And I would say, I could just go buy you a less expensive one that you can wear around all the time, and then you won't have to worry about that.
Okay, so I only have earrings. I only have earrings in because I leave them in 24/7. I never take them out when I shower or anything. I don't have any rings on. I don't have a necklace on. Like, I legit forget to put it on. And when I travel, I am scared of like losing it, or because I take it off every night when I sleep. I take it off when I wash my hands or cook or anything. So that was my thing, is I would find it sitting around the house, all kinds of places where I'd taken it off and be like, I'm gonna lose this one day. So it's in my jewelry box, and if I'm going and putting on jewelry because I'm going out or I'm dressing up, then I will see it and remember to put it on. But oftentimes I don't put on jewelry during the day, and it just sits in there. And I'm sorry.
That's fair.
My wedding ring is probably going to wear off someday, just because I'm constantly working on cars.
It's like half as thin as it was when I bought it for you.
And I think it's just going to wear away.
We should just get tattooed wedding rings.
No.
Ethan doesn't like tattoos.
I know. I'm the opposite. I will lose it if I take it off. So I never take it off, to the point where I actually can't get it off most days.
Yeah.
That's valid.
Yeah. But I will lose it. Yeah. Speaking of travel, your wedding photography is super successful. I follow you on Instagram, and I see you're always booked like a year out, which is so awesome. How do you guys deal with that long distance? What are your coping mechanisms for that? Is it a lot of FaceTime together?
Well, it kind of sucks because, my job doesn't allow me to travel at all. And then she's traveling a lot. So that's been something that I've been wanting to change. If I could go with her, I would love to, and I'm going to see if I can maybe be able to do that more in the future. But there's things that I like to do that she doesn't particularly like to do with me, like working on my cars. So there's also that too. If she goes out of town, then I can work on my cars, and she's in town, I can spend time with her. So it's just a balance.
I was gonna say, actually, I feel like works really well for us because I am a very independent person. And obviously I love Ethan, but I also need my alone time. I need my time to pursue what I'm passionate about. Yeah. And I love my job. I love my work, but it is also nice that when I'm out of town on the weekends, he's off work, he has all the time to work on his hobbies and his projects, and not me feeling like he's not spending time with me. And then when I am in town, we can spend time together. So I guess we've only ever, even dating was long distance, and maybe that prepared us for this when we're apart, a lot every week. But yeah, we probably FaceTime. I FaceTime you a lot when I'm out of town. We talk a lot on the phone.
I just have to be careful when she's out of town to keep my phone on me and answer texts and calls, because I can be really bad about just letting it go, and then a day goes by and then she feels ignored. So that I have to work.
And then I come back from a trip and I'm like, I tried to talk to you so many times and you never picked up.
That's very real. I understand. You guys should take one of your old cars on a road trip, maybe combine everything.
That's what I want to do. Oh, yes. Yeah. I want to drive one of my old cars across the country for sure.
I would like to make sure it won't break down first.
Before you get out of Georgia.
But then I'm all in.
I love the old cars. It's so funny when they break down, though, on the show. It's awesome. So speaking of other couples, we have to talk a little bit about Mariah and Max. Do you guys ship them? Do you see this being the one for her?
Know that, well, you were going to say something. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I don't want to say yes or no either way. I just really hope that it does work out, because they seem to fit well together, and I like Max as a person. He's a really good guy. And I wish him the best, and I really hope that it works out.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't say he's the one or not for Mariah, because she gets to make that choice, but I love them together. Max has become like a brother to me, and Ethan, and we love hanging out with him. And Ethan. And when Mike is around, we call ourselves the Fabulous Five. So I think we should keep our group forever.
That's adorable. Do you ever worry? I mean, you guys met each other super young. You're still young. Do you worry about the fact that this is her first kiss and this is, you know, maybe they should branch out more and then come back to each other if that's it?
I mean, I don't know. I imagine maybe that's something some people want to do, but it's just, if they feel that they're good together, then I feel like that's what they should do.
Mariah lived with us for a couple months before her and Max were dating. And at the time she was living here, you know, she talked to a bunch of different boys. And I think like Mariah is someone who knew what she wanted. And she had so many guys that, you know, wanted to date her and take her out and everything. And she said no a lot. And watching her go through that process of knowing what she wanted and waiting for it, and then seeing Max fulfill all that and go above and beyond and love her so well, it makes me really happy for them. And I hope they stay together. But also, like, she also knows that if it ever didn't work out and she wanted something else, we'd support her in that as well.
Yeah. Cool. Do you have any advice for them, because they are so young, and you guys met young? Do you have any advice? Do you give her advice? Do you share? I know in the coming show we see that you talked to her about birth control, which I'm sure made Ethan super cringe. But, how did that go, and what other advice have you given her?
Well, I feel like when Mariah was younger, my relationship with her was definitely much more like a mentor and little sister, but our relationship has equalized, and I'm really glad for that. And I learned so much from her, even more so than I think she probably learns from me, because I don't have much advice to give. I'm just figuring life out as I go. But yeah, in this episode that drops tomorrow, we talk all about sex and birth control and guys and all things girl talk. So yeah, cover your ears. No,
it's all right.
Yeah, it is. You've done your fair share of talking about things.
Oh yeah.
What kind of girl do you want to see Micah with?
I want Micah to see. Well, I want to see Micah grow up where he gets himself with anybody that's really a sweet person.
Yeah, it's because like I don't want him to be with someone who's not a healthy, good person for him. But he says this out loud, that he's not in a place to like commit to someone. Like be all in a relationship. And so we're all kind of like, then just wait, because you don't want to get a sweet one and mess it all up.
Yeah.
Like, if you know you're not ready, if you want to go on a date here and there, like kind of play the field, see what's out there, that's fine. But like, don't commit to someone who's a really good, sweet person and then like break their heart.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm trying to say. I don't want to like bash my brother. So like, you know, I'm just saying what he said. He's not really wanting a serious relationship, so I don't really want to see him get involved with somebody that actually really cares about him, that's really sweet and all that, and they get hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. He said the same thing to us a few weeks ago too. So he's just enjoying that single life, which can't blame him. So Lydia, we see that she's, you know, starting to think about dating, kind of, you know, chatting with this guy a bit. What did you think about your mom's conversation with her? If you watched it, I don't know if you saw it, but it was, I think, last week's episode. What did you think about that? Did you think that she was kind of overstepping, or do you think that was fair?
Well, I actually haven't watched any of the 2 episodes that just aired. I probably shouldn't say that, but I'm just saying I haven't watched it. So I actually can't say because I didn't watch it, but just in the conservative circle, I would definitely say for Lydia, I hope that she, you know, she picks who she wants to be with, because at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, she's going to be the one that gets to live with that person for the rest of her life, you know, and especially in some of those conservative circles where it's like you're trying to base the person that you're marrying, you know, off of whether it's God's will or not. I know just from the way I grew up, it was really hard to distinguish between mom and dad's approval and God's will, and some of that just gets real muddy. So
yeah,
I wouldn't want my mom's will to get, you know, clouded over, you know, her perception of God's will or not. Of course, I'm not saying at all that she shouldn't have my parents' approval. Of course, everyone should, in an ideal world, have their parents' approval. But yeah, I mean, I hope it works out for her.
Yeah, I watched part of the conversation, And then I skipped through that part because it was kind of triggering, just because like we grew up the same way, where we didn't really know each other before we got married because of how controlled the communication was. And I don't know, I think there's kind of a balance, you know, like Lydia's going to make her own decisions, and obviously pleasing her parents is very important to her, and that's going to dictate a lot of what she does. But I also know that she's close to Moriah, and Moriah has a completely different approach of getting to know Max and what their relationship looks like. And so I hope Lydia can kind of maybe take the best of both worlds and find something that works for her.
Yeah, that'll be good for her.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, just to get into the parent rift just a little bit, one question I've always had is, when did it start? And when we were speaking with Moriah and Micah a few weeks ago, we talked a little bit about your wedding and how things kind of started and stemmed from that. Do you guys agree? Was it the wedding? Was there one thing that kind of started all this?
It was before the wedding.
Yeah,
the wedding is when it like publicly became known that like it is not okay and everyone noticed, but it started way before that. It actually, okay, so when we were dating, I knew that I was being controlled in what we were allowed to do, what we were allowed to say. Like, I knew that, but I was also so used to that from my childhood that I just kind of like let him make a bunch of decisions for me. And I remember like the night that it clicked for me was the night we got engaged. And we come in the door, she waited up for us, and she like grabbed my hand and looked at the ring. And the first thing she said was, "Oh, I want to trade rings with you." And I was like, okay, that's really weird. And then she was like, "Oh, we're also going to sit down tomorrow and have a wedding planning meeting." And she like sat the whole family down, and like in that meeting, like basically told me what we were going to be doing. And that was the moment where I was like, I don't want to be controlled like this. Like, yeah. I never got to tell my mom that I was engaged before she posted it online. That's how my mom found out. And so like, that was when stuff just, I was like, I'm not going to be walked on. I don't want to deal with this. But every time I tried to stand up for myself, it created more drama. And so like the whole engagement was really rocky because of that.
Yeah. Well, I think the bottom line was my mom kind of definitely planned the wedding more so as if it was hers than it was yours. It was kind of had much more of that tendency. And that just kind of, it rubs a lot of people, like your friends and your family and stuff like that, the wrong way. And it just wasn't quite right. But then coming back from that after our honeymoon and all that stuff, that's kind of like trying to discuss it and sort it out, and then it didn't go well, and it just kind of went down.
Yeah, everything kind of at the end of the day, it was just like a pattern that she tried to make a lot of decisions for me, and I was fresh like out of my parents' house and figuring out who I was, and I didn't want decisions made for me. And the wedding was where a lot of that culminated, but it was just across the board. I didn't want her to make decisions for me, and that created a whole bunch of tension. That eventually just blew up and got to the point that we were unable to have a relationship.
Well, and where it got real bad was when we were unable to really resolve the differences over what happened during the wedding. Then that's when the thing with my siblings came in, where my dad and my mom told me that me and you could not see my siblings until we were on good terms or resolved our issues with my parents.
Until I got my spirits cast out.
You know, it's just kind of, that's where it's sat ever since then, unfortunately.
Yeah. Just to clarify, did you say she posted your engagement before you told your mom?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. On Instagram or on social media?
Facebook, yeah.
Do you think there's any double standard where like Moriah and Micah moved out, but they're welcome back? You know, Max and Moriah clearly have a relationship out, you know, without their getting their mother's approval first, but they're welcome back. Do you find that there's a double standard?
Yes and no. I think when I met the Plaths, when Ethan and I started dating, they still had like the whole, we're family unity harmony, the whole family's together, like we're all happy. And it wasn't true, it was a facade. But when Ethan and I got married, it kind of really broke the mold. And I think we took a lot of flack for that. And then once everything became public and the show started and like family dynamics were aired, I think Barry and Kim were being very careful with Mike and Moriah so that the same thing doesn't happen to them as it does Ethan. and they definitely like play nice with them. And I think there are some areas that they've changed.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's as much a double standard as it is we took the flack for being the first ones. And, you know, obviously Mike and Mariah have, you know, issues with their parents that they've kind of put aside and decided that they want to see their siblings and they want that relationship right now.
Yeah.
And I think, again, Barry and Kim aren't going to say as much to Mike and Mariah Max as they would to us, since they've already been through, you know, the no contact relationship with us.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. I don't know what you think.
I would say that pretty much walks the line. I would say that's right.
Last question about that. What would need to happen for you guys to repair that rift?
Well, I personally just think a lot of time and some real estate, some miles between us, because it started out where, you know, I bought a house in town. They lived at the farm where I grew up, and it was about 15 minutes away. And then they moved just right across the street from me, and that definitely did not go over well. So it just, I think, first off, we just need some space and time.
I think, go ahead.
I just said distance can be a good thing sometimes.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I think in my head, I am not fixating on what would fix this, how could this change, because I know without a shadow of a doubt that I did everything in my power to fix it, and I couldn't unless I changed who I was. And so I think I've honestly just accepted that it wasn't a good relationship for me, and I want to move on. And if I ever change my mind in the future and I want a relationship with them, I'll let them know. But for right now, I'm just excited to like move and build a life with Ethan and figure out who I am and what I want in my life, and that I want all of my energy to go there. And if they ever came to us and apologized, and, you know, I decided it was okay to have a relationship, then I'd revisit it. But for right now, I think we're both happy to move on.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you guys, you know, you lightly touched on the future of your relationship. Do you want to expand your family, and have you talked about babies?
Well, how much do you want to say?
Oh, go ahead.
I think it would still be a few years before we have kids, for sure, because we want to travel around a little bit.
I feel like also our relationship was backwards in some ways, where we got married without really knowing each other super young. And now we're in like the getting to know each other dating phase. And so there's no way I'm going to sacrifice this, especially with all the stuff we've been through. And I personally feel like I'm not capable of emotionally loving another being well right now, as I'm working on loving Ethan and myself. So we're happy to wait a little while longer.
Have you talked about a number? I know you, Ethan, you come from a pretty big family.
Oh, 3,
4, no more.
Definitely no more than 4. No. But like 2, I don't know. Then if one gets bored with the other, there's not another third option. Definitely not one, because I feel so sorry for the little kid. Never have anyone else to go play with. So 3 to 4 probably is my number.
Yeah, and we're open to like whether it's biological or by adoption or whatever that process works out.
Yeah. I think it's important to have time with each other. Me and my husband waited about 5 years, so it's great.